Hello and welcome aboard. My name is Chip Bray and I'm going to accompany you on this voyage to explain to you all about RIS, or RIS. That stands for River Information Services.
RIS is a unique concept of information services which provides the basic conditions for an electronic exchange of information for a safe and efficient transport on the European Inland Waterway Network. Some of the benefits of RIS are better travel planning, less paperwork, more all-round safety and less fuel consumption. And it gives more potential for ships to navigate safely in the busy rivers throughout Europe. Furthermore, RIS can be linked to similar services on the European road and rail transport network.
There's a transponder that sends and receives specified information about this vessel, such as the vessel's position, freight category, destination, and so on. This information is not available to just anyone. It's specifically intended for the appropriate authority to have at their disposal for use in traffic management. When the information is sent or received by fairway authorities in Europe, the same information is automatically passed on to authorities throughout Europe and to other stakeholders in inland navigation who have the authority to receive and use the information. Privacy rules are well respected in these issues. The information is then used to control the passage of ships or to inform those who are involved in a shipment. Here, I'll show you what I mean.
This gives the lock attendant all the necessary information about incoming ships, such as their arrival time, overall length, as well as a clear description of the cargo and whether or not it might be considered dangerous. The locks can be more efficiently operated with this information, and that results in a smoother flow of traffic throughout the waterways. Above all, when a skipper knows exactly what time his ship can enter a lock, he can adjust his speed accordingly, and that saves fuel, which also means less harm for our environment.
And so the authorities can make their decisions based on the actual situations they receive from the collective data of each ship. This provides a uniform infrastructure on the European waterway by means of a one-time automatic reporting for each ship. And it also gives a standard information package for each ship, which helps make critical decisions for the various waterway departments, from traffic management to customs, or from container terminals to the Water Enforcement Agency. Each department receives its own specific information. But tit for tat. I give you something, I want something back, right? The skipper gives his information, and he wants at least the same amount in return. In comes the information in real time about the shipping forecast, the traffic obstructions, the weather, ice formations, so on and so forth. All this information is automatically processed in this electronic chart, the ECDIS. Here you can even see the name of the ship, the speed, the position, and its eventual course. And in return, the skipper gets a clear picture of all the traffic around him. But what's important about this system is the skipper has his entire trip programmed in with each detail of the voyage. Come on, I'll show you how it looks.
All the details about your route are processed automatically in your own language. Statistical information about the rivers, real-time data about traffic jams. And with an accurate forecast of the water level for, let's say, 1 week, you can plan your entire route, keeping in mind the draft of your ship. Then the ship's cargo can be optimally loaded from all the precise information and actual conditions of the route.
Imagine the advantage that gives to Leopold Hofbauer as captain of the ship, because it means he can carry more freight, which provides more transactions, which... The voyage planning is becoming more updated with all the information from the ship and its surroundings. And wherever you are, you can receive the information in your own language: French, German, Dutch, Romanian, even English. At the moment, such electronic cards like the ECDIS are available only on major rivers like the Rhine or the Danube. But soon, RIS information will be available through the entire European waterway. European inland navigation is by definition cross-border traffic, and the same applies for RIS. However, RIS cannot be restricted by the traditional information barriers between the authorities of the different European countries, because the RIS information travels with the ship. Crossing borders nowadays is more about the new Europe. This means that all the information about the ship's crew and the cargo is readily available at every moment throughout the voyage. It's called tracking and tracing for ship owners, harbor stations, customs authorities. Here, I'll show you what I mean.
Tracking and tracing makes crossing borders easy. RIS contains all the information on inland shipping vessels, such as their precise location at all times, the number of crew, the kind of cargo, the planned route, and the destination. That gives an overall view not only for traffic management, but also for security. RIS allows the European inland waterway to satisfy the international security demands for the ship's crew and cargo. And it does all this without mounds of paperwork. There will be no separate border checks for each country you enter or on-board controllers, which, as you know, takes up lots of precious time. RIS will make all the services available to you from all the different countries in need of the same information.
The tracking and tracing potential from RIS is becoming more significant each year because we as consumers constantly want to know more about what we buy. For example, foodstuff. We not only want to know how it is produced, but how it is transported. Soon we'll even be able to determine the loading conditions, like the relative humidity and the temperature in real time. In other words, we'll be online with every ship. The new European food law requires that every foodstuff producer reveal the origin of their product within 24 hours. And this is where RIS plays a very important role. Also, it's another good reason for water transport. The concern now is that the European countries provide a mutual understanding so that the term cross-border applies to not only the ship itself, but all the information that belongs to the ship. And that means a standardization of the infrastructure and an agreement of the desired information of the ship and its cargo. Here at CTN, Container Terminal Nijmegen, ships have to be unloaded and new cargo brought aboard. The information in these containers is already known electronically via RIS, and that makes for a much faster transaction time and a lot less paperwork than the traditional mountains of forms. Above all, the skipper knows when his time to unload is coming up, and he can adjust his speed from wherever he is accordingly. That saves fuel, which is better for the bank account and much better for our environment.
Because the terminal knows when the ship arrives, they can plan accordingly. That saves time. And because all the information about the ship and its cargo has been electronically processed via RIS, the security and customs control process goes much quicker. Not only here in this terminal, but also in the harbour where the ships are constantly loaded or unloaded. RIS makes the total process go faster and safer.
You can actually say in the future that with no RIS, there is no freight, because the authorities, as well as the commercial partners, put more demand on the transparency of freightage, and RIS makes transparency possible. Thanks to RIS, the shipper can quickly anticipate the loading market and is able to submit an immediate offer. Because the voyage planner, in combination with the actual RIS data regarding the ship's course, the dockage fees, the water level, etc., the shipper is able to answer any question about the market in no time at all. It could happen fire in the engine room, or a collision. Luckily, it doesn't happen that often. Inland navigation is considered the safest form of transport. But what if it did happen? What then? What would the rescuers and the authorities need to know? First of all, they need to know the exact location of the accident, how many people are on board, what kind of freight the ship is carrying, what kind of fire it is, are there chemicals involved, what kind of firefighting equipment can be used, which kind definitely cannot be used. Is it a danger for the environment? With risks, all the information the authorities need to make a quick decision in an emergency situation is immediately available. All the ships in the direct area can be instantly alerted or informed on their ECDIS of any eventual dangers or holdups. And here it's vital that there is a standard available in order to guarantee a seamless information exchange between the different organizations as well as the different countries. Look at this here. It's always the busiest point of the route. And this, in the future, measures must be taken. And what will become of this bottleneck in the future? How will the most dangerous cargoes pass through? What does it mean for environmental and infrastructural planning? All these questions can be answered by RIS. Because all the ship and freight information can be statistically processed, RIS plays an important role in the European policy making of inland shipping. Look.
RIS will offer a view of the transportation trends and trend breakers. Where is most of the traffic going? Which area is less traveled? Which area is most necessary? And how can we get the traffic sorted?
It is of foremost interest and utmost importance now for Europe to formulate these questions. RIS can give answers to these questions in the coming years and thus support the European vision of inland shipping. Beautiful, isn't it? In a few hours, we'll have transported as much freight as 60 trucks driving down the highways. And it's a lot cleaner for the environment. And when you realize that the Rhine River can transport 7 times as many ships, you'll see that inland shipping has a bright future. And with RIS, the skipper of this ship is ready for that bright future. Because with RIS, transportation across waterways has a unique information service that can give answers to the questions of the future.
It's clear what RIS can do. The COMPRIS research project and RIS pilot projects of the last years have proved that. In order to implement RIS, it requires a strong mutual agreement between all the European key players in inland navigation, on standardization, technical infrastructure, and the operational use. Barriers for crossing borders have to be taken away, and all these elements form the basis of the IRIS project.
The implementation of RIS will begin step by step in the coming years throughout Europe. The skipper and this ship, with all the technology aboard, gives you a clear picture of the future of inland shipping. As a matter of fact, it's actually already begun. Well, good luck and bon voyage.